Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hi, I'm Jackie Kashian, and you're listening to the Dork Forest. You know the websites, JackieKashian.com, DorkForest.com. The credits, Mike Rickberg sang that song. He wrote and composed it. He sang it with Sarah Cohen. He's going to sing again at the end, Mexican Hat Dance. And then Vilmos fixes the website, and Patrick Brady is going to fix this audio. JackieKashian.com has my stand-up and live Dork Forest schedules, including my upcoming Portland, Oregon, going to be doing Portland, Oregon, live Dork Forest with Carrie Brownstein from Portlandia, and a stand-up show July 13th. Feel free to come out to that. So the links are all on JackieKashian.com. And there is a donation button on JackieKashian.com and on DorkForest.com, which now points to All Things Comedy, which is the umbrella podcast host that I am with right now. That is amazing. All Things Comedy, by the way, has about 30 other podcasts that you can listen to. Feel free to cherry pick over there. They're on the right-hand side. The donation button on DorkForest.com and JackieKashian.com are live. Feel free to donate. Knock yourselves out. I recommend everyone give me $100 a year. Yep. And if you don't have $100 a year, don't worry about it. Just tell everybody that you love the show. And you can get merch if you want. That's another way to donate and get stuff. You can get a Ranger of the Dork Forest t-shirt from JackieKashian.com or the Brett Chambers Dork Forest t-shirt. My CDs, you can buy those. You can also use the banner, the Amazon banner, and buy your stuff through Amazon, and Amazon gives me a kickback. Last month, I made $39. Pretty sweet. Anyway, let's get into it. It's a good episode. Thanks for listening, folks. Hi, we're sitting here in my living room, and we're going to talk Elvis, because that's the dorkdom of James P. Connolly. James P. Connolly, by the way, CONNOLLY.TV.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. What answer? That's not Irish, is that what I'm hearing?
It is Irish, but it's the non-familiar Connolly spelling.
Okay, there we go.
If left up to other people's devices, no one ever spells my name. No one ever pulls it correctly on the billboard. I can hand them the picture. They go, I know how to spell Connolly. No, you don't.
It turns out not. So James P. Connolly, and it's also at James P. Connolly on Twitter. And if this goes before July 29th, you're closing the Irvine Improv for a benefit for the 5th Marine Regiment. Yep. Which are clearly veterans.
Yeah, most of them are, a lot of them in Iraq and Afghanistan. The last decade they've been deployed, so they're all back now. And so they're doing it's a big benefit show. And
Laurie Kilmartin tweeted the other day, we really have to reinstate the draft because these same 25 guys can't fight every war we're doing.
I know.
I thought it was
It's phenomenal. I'm pulling these guys like, how many times did you go over? And they go, well, they just
fourth,
keep saying,
sixth. And
that's
you're
unbelievable.
Like, there's no, I wonder why you're twitchy. Anyway, that's tough. Anyway, so that's great. So July 29th. If
July 29th. Come on out, Irvine Improv.
And then the first weekend of August, you're doing Rochester.
Yeah, let's stop bragging. First week of August. Goonies. That's right. And that's real, people. We've been working on that harmony all morning long.
Goonies. The only time I ever did stand up in Rochester, I ate it so hard. The only laugh I got was like, how many people here just killing time waiting for a loved one to die? Anyone? Because the Mayo Clinic is there.
I was going to say, that way we went.
Yeah. And,
good. Well, good. You're pumping me up. I can't wait to get out there.
That's the only laugh I got. But then I genuinely think that that's what they were doing. Because I was at a weird dive bar, just doing a one-nighter back in 95. So don't worry about it.
So thanks.
So it's real. So Elvis Presley.
Yeah. And by the way, thank you. We got this sweet Elvis pint glass.
Yep.
Taking care of business.
Little did I know I was collecting pint glasses until I would go to every museum, go, hey, I wonder if they have any pint glasses here. And then all of a sudden I have pint glasses because I have this one. It's got a pirate on it. Yours has the Elvis one. Got it at Graceland.
And I got to tell you, this is not just any pint glass. This is Elvis, and I'm going to go ahead and give you the ballpark. That is probably from the 1968 comeback special, where he's usually seen in black leather, but this is one where he's got the white outfit on, and he's got the little ascot there. Probably singing the is it the Impossible Dream? To dream the there you go. That was it right there. A little flashback.
He did a lot of. He didn't write his own music, I'm told. Right?
Elvis, I think he cut over like 600 songs and didn't write one of them.
All right.
But they had like an agreement where they were all listed under Elvis Presley Enterprises, so a lot of people didn't want to write songs for Elvis because they weren't going to get their money.
Oh,
so basically, you wrote it, gave it to him, and then they listed it as an Elvis song. So he was listed as a songwriter for it's like double
royalties?
dipping. Yeah. That's why a lot of people didn't want to write for him because after a while it's like, I wrote that song. No. Elvis wrote
turns
that
out
song.
Elvis didn't write any of those songs.
No, but he'd pitch in every now and then, like, what if we change banana to orange? I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. Elvis, writing credit.
And everybody going, nothing rhymes with orange. Elvis, nothing rhymes with orange. What do you think?
It's how you say it. Orange and around.
What's the history of your love of Elvis? I mean, we all like Elvis, right?
You know, I was trying to go back and figure out the etymology. It started somewhere with my mother. I think
Okay.
we had an Elvis album around the house.
Right.
And I know she's ballpark same age, like she was a teenager when it hit.
Okay.
So I think it started with a record in the house.
Right.
And for some reason, I just became enamored. I love...
Where did you grow up?
I grew up outside L.A. in Downey, California.
Okay, all
But
right.
we had this album, and I think I just played it and loved it. And then my parents, you're a parent, you encourage your kids. Well, he likes
Sure.
Elvis. Well, let's get him an Elvis album. But this was
Right.
like...
Don't tell anyone you ever like unicorns or
Exactly,
frogs or
I
something.
get that.
All of a sudden you get like a collection
I
of
have
unicorns
a
and
huge
frogs.
collection of Elvis unicorns, as a matter of fact. But I had like the little record player that you flip up.
Oh, okay.
I close the door, sit there, take the hairbrush, take the jean jacket, flip up the collar, work on the moves, and sing
Yep.
in the mirror. And so,
Wow, that's a Grease Lightning kind of moment right there.
and I would actually I was a little kid. One time I went to the local, I think it was a J.C. Penney, and I got like an Elvis album as a gift for my mother. Under the guise of really, I wanted to hear it.
Right.
So I said, look, it's for you. Here, let's play this album and listen to it when you're not here.
Yes. It's I'm going to get you a pocket knife so that I can learn how to play Mumbly Peg. So I don't. That's wow. We went somewhere else. Sorry about that. Okay. So James P. Connolly. So I asked people. I said, "Are there questions?"
Let's see if I can do this.
I got these off of Twitter. So and Facebook. So the Twitter handles.
So you know
are
they're
all-
real. You know they're real. These are
Right.
Twitter, Facebook. We've never met these people. I don't know who they are.
They're rangers of the Dork Forest. And
Sweet.
but the crazy thing about Twitter, of course, is that everybody has some crazy handle. Like mine is Jackie Kashian.
That
Yours
is
is James P.
crazy.
Connolly.
That is insane.
It is crazy,
because we're
but-
whores to branding. That's
Right.
what it is. Yeah.
That's what it is. But what about Ass Face Robot? What about that? At Ass Face Robot.
I'm going to go ahead and say instant visual popped into my head. I usually don't visualize Twitter, but now I do.
Right, now you
I
got
do.
an image
All right.
to go. He was like, please ask about Elvis asking Nixon for a Narcotics Bureau badge and about him constantly carrying guns, sometimes on stage. Do you know about these two things?
Yeah, he was like a huge gun enthusiast. The whole Nixon thing was weird because he actually...
I've seen that picture. I wondered where
there was a movie they made about this moment. This is when Elvis was kind of heavily in. He was doing a lot of drugs,
Right?
yet saw himself as a guardian of the American way, of like the invasion of like the Beatles and drugs music. So this is like mid '70s Elvis. And so
Mid-70s Elvis trying to... He's
he's a man taking drugs, essentially saying that I'm gonna stop the drugs. So he wants to
He just wants everyone to get a haircut.
and he wants a badge and he wants a gun. He wants to be a deputy, I believe, of like the DEA or some narcotics enforcement. So he basically got on a plane. I think he flew to D.C., then flew back to Memphis. Then I think he got on a separate plane with a couple other people. He flew under the name of John Burroughs. Then I think he reboarded a plane. I think he flew under the name of John Carpenter, which was a character he played in 1969, Change of Habit with Mary Tyler Moore. Then he, I'm sorry, Did I drop that? Then he flew again, and he went to try to meet. I forget how it went down, but he tried to get in there and meet and the head of the bureau, and they wouldn't let him in. And then I think some of his people,
Head of the FBI?
I think it was the Narcotics Bureau at the time. But then some of his people went and contacted Nixon, and Elvis wanted to meet Nixon and wanted the badge.
Right.
And Elvis wrote a letter on an airplane, scribbled out a letter to President Nixon as to why he deserved this badge, and he wanted to help protect America and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So apparently he went in there, and Elvis was kind of in a pseudo-drug haze himself when he went in there and met Nixon. And apparently it was this awkward moment where they took a couple of stage shots, and bottom line is Elvis got his badge. Elvis wants a badge, Elvis gets a badge. Elvis wants to protect America from drugs, Elvis gets to protect America. No one stops Elvis.
Talking about branding, Nixon knew a picture with Elvis was not going to be ever a bad picture.
Exactly. Now here's Nixon wanting to hook. So the drug guy's like, nah, no thanks. Nixon's like, Elvis, come on in. So yeah.
Come on in. Here's he gave him wings. It's like when you go to the cockpit and you meet the you meet the
This is
pilot.
the highest level wings an American citizen can get. But
Right. Okay. So that's from that's Ass Face Robot.
hey, thank you, Ass Face Robot.
AK the Human Vacuum. AK the Human Vacuum.
AK the Human Vacuum.
Kuban 1M would like to ask him if he's heard any of the bootleg Elvis Sings with the Beatles records.
You know, I have not.
Oh, did you know that they existed?
I had heard rumors, much of the legend of the bootleg sessions. Yeah.
Okay.
But I have not specifically heard them, so that's good. That is good.
Good to know that
Yeah.
rumor continues.
But I think they met one time. I think it might have been in Palm Springs.
You got an Elvis Beatles story for
and
me?
it was just, I think it was like one of them secret meetings where they finally got to meet, and I think the Beatles were enamored with him. I think he was more like wanted to meet him, but
you should be enamored with me.
yeah, exactly.
This
But
is
it was
what
Elvis.
right, the impression I get of Elvis is that there was a lot of yes men happening around Elvis in the later years.
Always. He had the Memphis Mafia. He had the people that rolled with him. When he
Yeah.
was on a movie set, they hated it because he had like an entourage of 14 in between takes. They were, fart jokes and drinking and knocking each other around, and so.
Crying out loud.
But it was, it was like
It's Elvis.
It's
You
Elvis world.
want Elvis to be
world
in a-
rolled, and you all just got sucked into Elvis world.
It's a Katamari Damacy, I think is the name of the video game. Anyway, it's a rolling thing and things stick to you, and then all of a sudden you become
And that is a
bigger and
brilliant
bigger and
analogy.
bigger. Yes.
Everyone sticks to Elvis.
Everyone sticks to Elvis because Elvis will buy a car in the end, right?
Elvis, I think he bought over 100 Cadillacs for people.
Wow.
Elvis, when he was in the military, he donated all his pay because he didn't need the money.
Right.
And he bought all the people in his unit an extra set of uniforms because it was expensive.
Oh, and everybody needs more than
Extra
one
uniform, yeah.
Everyone should have more than one uniform.
You should, but Elvis is like, you want to hear? Have some uniforms. There you go. Take my paycheck too. Take my paycheck.
Okay. The crazy thing about because I grew up and I love the Elvis movies. I've always loved the Elvis movies.
You kidding me? That was like the greatest. When I grew up, it was a 3:30 movie on ABC because you couldn't buy these things. So
Right.
you had to wait for Elvis week to come, and the 3:30, and it would play every day at 3:30 was Elvis week, and it was like you got excited. Then
Right.
they repeat movies, and you're like, I've already seen Blue Hawaii,
Right,
and I've
right.
already seen Girls, Girls, Girls. And then they would throw in some obscure like a Spin Out or Roustabout. You're like, hey,
Oh, I meant to look up. Do you know the one?
probably.
All right. The favorite one when I was a kid was the one where he's in Florida and they squat on the side of the lake. And
Ooh, that could be
and then
Follow
he-
That Dream.
it is Follow That Dream.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank
well
you
done,
very
James
much.
P. Connolly.
Woo-hoo.
Well played, because he ends up
Shelley Fabre was his co-star.
and his stepsister. He ends up making out with his stepsister.
Yeah.
That one. Oh yeah, that's good times.
I'm gonna follow that dream wherever that dream may lead.
Oh, yeah.
Gonna follow that dream to find someone to believe. When your heart gets restless, time to move along. Gotcha. All right.
All right, nice. See,
you.
and I like the lighter
Thank
ones.
you.
I like the ones where he's rich.
They're all.
and he's
Yeah.
well, King Creole and
King Creole was a little more serious. King
Right.
Creole. But that was like actual attempt at acting. You had Kid
Great.
Galahad, fighter.
Fighter. That one. That was another dark one, right? And a little bit of what about Jailhouse Rock, which I've never been able to make it through.
Actually, Jailhouse Rock. I like Jailhouse Rock. Some good tunes in there. Same type of thing. But
Music's great.
All the movies, acting by Kid Galahad, still a serious movie. But then Charles Bronson's in it. But then he's still driving in his truck. Serious scene. Turns on the radio. Of course, on the radio is the background tracks and backup singers singing. And then miraculously in his car, Elvis jumps in on lead vocals.
Right.
It's like the suspension of disbelief began even in serious movies.
Right, because they wouldn't let him not do songs. Right?
Exactly.
I mean, they wouldn't let him not sing in movies. Is
There's
that
just no
correct?
movie that you could have where you turn on the radio and all you hear is ah, and you just jumping in. It's just like it shouldn't happen.
Right. Not in real life, but
No.
in an Elvis. I mean, the thing about Elvis is that he seemed bigger than life. He seemed like his life might be a musical. Right? There might.
Well, I think
all
he
of a
was
sudden-
the first megastar who dealt with your life being bigger, like the hype of your life is bigger than any human life, and no one knows what to do with you or how to help you or teach you anything because it's like we don't know. We're just watching you right now. And when you implode, and then we'll go back and go, wow, so that's what happens when celebrities get too famous. I felt bad. He was like a petri dish
Oh wow!
because no one had ever had that before. No one had ever experienced this before.
Okay, so he was essentially the first test subject.
He was the first rock and roll terrarium, and we all looked in and
Right.
we watched what happened in there.
Wow, and it didn't go well.
No, it
did
didn't
not
go well, but
did not.
it went too fast. I mean,
It
it
went-
just exploded.
How old was he when he was touring with? Wasn't he touring with Johnny Cash in the beginning or something? I mean, he's like
Actually, Johnny
big names.
Cash toured with Elvis.
Oh my!
He was like 21 or younger, and he was
Right.
like on this thing called the Louisiana Hayride, which was a big thing
That's-
touring the South. And
Okay.
then first it was Elvis was on the bill with other people, and then it was Elvis was the headliner, and Johnny Cash and the other guys who are recording at Sun Studios would be on the lower bill.
Right, you're wearing your
And,
Sun Studios.
Which, by the way,
T-shirt.
Talk about hallowed ground. You want to go to Memphis.
Yeah.
You want to walk into a place that is just like the Sun Studio where like Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Johnny Cash, Elvis. You get in there. It's this tiny little thing. But it's like you just look around. And unfortunately, the tour guide is a guy dressed as Elvis, which is, by the way, extremely distracting and annoying. Sun Studios. When you got a kid who's
Studios.
pitching like his local Elvis, I'm like, I just shut up, little Elvis, and let it soak up the enormity of what took place in this little beat up studio.
Because it wasn't just Elvis. It was bigger than that.
All those guys were coming through there.
How long did it last? How long did Sun
Records lasted quite a while because they were starting in the 50s and they lasted for a while. Then I think they got bought up. But I think someone then bought the Sun Records because the name had a branding, and then they re-released, like RCA when they paid for Elvis' contract, then they bought out all his Sun recordings and then re-released them on the RCA label because they thought, they'd still make some cash off it.
And it turned out they did.
Oh, yes. Colonel Tom Parker made his money.
Oh, there was a Colonel story.
By the way, fake Colonel, by the way, not a real Colonel.
Not an actual Colonel.
A Colonel of swindling and marketing.
Oh, really? It had never actually been in any
He was
Boy
a
Scout?
questionable, everyone said there was a questionable whether or not he was even a legal American. He never let Elvis travel overseas.
Oh, okay.
And one of the reasons that people thought that the Colonel was wanted overseas, or if he left, he couldn't get back into America.
Oh, right.
And so, because
the
people said why
speculation
Elvis was the largest, most famous human on the planet
And he
since
never
maybe
played-
Jesus, and he never played outside the United States, except for his military stint in Germany when he was
Right.
ordered to.
Right.
But the Colonel never went
And the Colonel never went anywhere.
outside the United States.
He never even played Canada?
No.
Really?
No.
That seems like you would think the Colonel would want him because there might be a lot of money in that.
Yeah, but what if Elvis probably played somewhere in Wisconsin?
Right.
Told the Canadians, they come down.
They do come. People, but it was a destination kind of thing. We're going to go see Elvis. Did Elvis do one of those? Was he in Vegas? Did he play Vegas?
Elvis actually,
Did he create Vegas?
he created the Vegas run because they built which now the Las Vegas Hilton. It used to be called the International, and they were building the International, and
Right.
Elvis was kind of in his, he was outside the groovy movie Elvis phase.
Okay.
Into the where did Elvis go, and then hey, he's in his leather suit, come back. Elvis has got some game still. So the International was being built, and he signed an exclusive contract to be the main headliner.
Okay.
So it was built with the intention of Elvis being in the hotel. So he started like in the early 70s. He was like the first guy to be the first gigantic name to just say, I do like, this is what I do is Vegas.
I do Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he basically, then they created the Vegas show, that 70s Elvis.
Right.
With the, gospel singers in the back and the guys that go, oh, and those guys.
Those guys are always.
You know what?
There.
I love those guys because if you watch the 50 shots, here's Elvis, arguably the most contemporary artist of his time. Mm-hmm. And there's 4 white men in the background in plaid sport coats who look like all they do is just go, doop, doop. And they look like, but he always had him.
He always had him. He always had him. And they were there. I mean, was that something from the 30s? What was that from? That feels like a musical.
Yeah, I think he was big into like the gospel music as a kid, so he always had like the guy singers.
I think I read some weird one-off story about him recording. They wanted him to get, some hit down, and in between takes, he was singing gospel music with these guys, and they told him that he had to shut it down and sing whatever, pop tune that they wanted, and he was like, no, we're going to sing to the Lord for the next 3 hours or whatever. So did he have gospel albums that he released?
Yeah, he had some of his biggest hits were, he did, How Great Thou Art and Peace in the Valley. And so he did like in the early 60s release like some gospel albums as well. So
okay. All
they
right.
always have shots of him on these like live tour where he like, Elvis playing the piano, singing the gospel to himself. And
Right. Just kind of messing around that way. Because the good
Lord
the piano?
said, do the amphetamines.
Yes. And,
He could I think he could monkey around on a lot of instruments, but he wasn't like a great guitar player. He taught himself how to play better. I think he kind of held it. It was kind of a look and a crutch.
Right. Because people wanted the idea that he was more
I think
musical.
he eventually over time he learned how to play this stuff better, but I don't think anybody said, you know who should get to play piano on this recording? Elvis.
Right. Right.
You know who plays a mean fake guitar? That Elvis Presley.
And like Nat King Cole, I guess was an amazing piano player.
Yeah.
And then just fell into the singing part of it. And he was like, oh, you need me to sing too? Okay. But I guess everybody really wanted him to play the piano.
Yeah. No, I think Elvis was a tinkerer.
Yeah.
He was a tinkerer.
Fair. Okay, let me find this. Okay. his acting ambitions were thwarted by the Colonel. Is that true?
Yeah, he. By the way, I just love the fact I'm being asked Elvis questions. I like. Yeah. I feel like I'm on a game show going. I'll handle this Elvis question if you don't mind. You see, Elvis wanted to be a thespian.
It's the funnest part of the Dark Forest.
Here's the thing: is that Hal Wallace was the guy in charge of all the Elvis movies. Hal Wallace did all the Martin and Lewis movies of the 50s.
Okay.
So he was a Hollywood formula man. He cranked out the Elvis formula. So they didn't want, Colonel Tom Parker was there to make money, basically. And so Elvis wanted to pursue other, like anybody else, wanted to do serious stuff, wanted to do different stuff. But once they came up with the Elvis formula that worked, a little bit of singing, a little bit of dancing, a little bit of girls, a little bit of Elvis being Elvis, everywhere you go.
Done.
Yeah, so basically, like
the die is cast. You can't. You want to weed off, and you want to go be in.
No, he never.
Some
There was
Marlon
no
Brando
room.
movie.
And he signed a contract. He had to do like 30 movies in the 60s. So he signed this huge contract where basically every year he had to crank out 3-4 movies.
Wow.
And so there was
they take at least a couple of months.
And there was
right?
no time to do the other stuff. And you
Right.
know what? Every one of his movies made money. So it wasn't like they ever lost money on an Elvis movie. The Legions always came. They might have not liked it.
Right.
There was always one song that maybe charted, and so it went
Yeah.
on and on
Yeah.
and on. But I mean, it got really bad. Some of the, like Clam Bake to me is when they jump the shark.
Yeah.
Clam Bake in the scene. Of course, the song Clam Bake. Just, I don't know what it really means, but
Right, it doesn't mean anything.
Look for the bride's lights in town. That's where you'll find me hanging around. Then Clam Bake, gonna have a Clam Bake.
What is the line?
Look for the bride's lights in town. That's where you'll find me hanging around. It's just like all of a sudden he's singing about life at a clam. But what happens is there's all these people on the beach
Right. They're having a clam bake.
in beach attire. Elvis walks in,
Not in beach attire.
tight black polyester pants, leather black shoes, pompadour, white shirt, and like a black turtleneck on the beach. And they're all singing and dancing with him. But it's like, and it bothers no one that a guy showed up in like nighttime wear.
Right.
And they're all in
wearing,
bikinis.
like, dress shoes.
Exactly.
And he's wearing
Yeah.
a turtleneck, and it's clearly very warm.
What happened is every year, there was no continuity person on the script. Pretty soon it was like Elvis wore whatever he wanted to, just showed up in the scene to do Elvis stuff. So
really?
you could see it deteriorate over time. Whereas like normally someone would say maybe we should put Elvis like in Blue Hawaii. He had like swim trunks and a Hawaiian shirt on.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try.
Right.
But at some point it was like Elvis is going to show up in a velvet cape and a hat and a monkey. Put him in the scene, even though it's a swim scene.
Right.
He'll get through it, and the fans will love it, and we'll move on to the next scene.
Oh my God, that was it. It felt conscious at some point where they're
At
like,
some point, Elvis was like, all right, what do I do? Where do I go? Where's the
Right.
monkey?
Why do
Where's
I
the
have to-
tiger?
why do I have to change my shirt?
So I'm going to wear the fun hat, sing to that steady bear, and I'm out the door. All right, let's do it. What's the song called? Poogie, Poogie, Poogie? All right, I'm in.
With
Pretty
no,
much. No, yeah.
with nothing else.
No.
Oh, that's that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But I love that stuff.
So you mentioned the cape. So
The cape, God, I love the cape.
Killjoy Wazir
Killjoy was here. All right.
at McWoody1M would like to say, what's this 1M business? Kuban had a 1M after it. It must be Twitter speak for something.
Got to be some subset
Don't
of the
knock
Dork
shit
Forest
over,
audience.
Jackie.
Okay,
Don't.
there we
All
go.
right,
It's getting
Jackie,
ugly here.
I've been cut off. I pour my second cup of coffee and then I knock it over.
All right.
Here's the question. Elvis's love of Captain Marvel Jr. Elvis's caped outfit is based on his favorite superhero, Captain Marvel Jr. Weirdly, not Billy Batson for some reason, according to Killjoy Wazir.
Well, on my limited Captain Marvel knowledge, however, he was
Captain
my father's
Marvel
favorite
Elvis crossover.
superhero. But if you did know that Billy Batson was the alter ego small child of Captain Marvel / Shazam, so Billy Batson not really wearing the cape. But if you notice Captain Marvel, he
Right.
did have the Napoleonic collar, and he had like the gold thing
Right.
and the cape. So
Yeah.
I could see where that is the. If Elvis looked at that, because
He was like, that's what I would like to
what I
dress
want to
like.
be is I want to be Shazam, basically.
Right.
Yeah. So you get that exactly. So he got the cape. And if you look at the 70s outfits, they mutated over time. It was like the white outfit, a little bit of fringe, and
Yeah.
then it kind of mutated into the spangly, bespeckled cape bow to the knee, winged Elvis,
Right.
cane,
Right.
things
The
like
whole
that.
thing.
The whole thing.
Did he pick his own clothes, do you know? Or
Oh yeah,
did
he had a
have-
guy that handmade these, and
Okay.
Elvis would go and select them and what he wanted, and these things cost like each outfit was like thousands and thousands of dollars in the
Right.
jumpsuit that he would just sweat through.
He was a bit of a sweater. Do we know that?
A little bit of sweater, kind of a heavy
Okay.
sweater.
He had a bit of a heavy sweater,
Heavy sweater,
especially
heavy
after the
sweater.
drug use.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was a
when
big
he was
guy.
less fit.
Less fit. The less fit.
The less fit.
The
Elvis.
pre-gymnasium Elvis.
The post.
The post.
The post 1970.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a health decline.
Okay, yeah,
A little bit.
I think Elvis was the first guy who died when I was a kid that I realized, well, once a famous person dies, they show all of his movies.
Yeah.
And then I started looking around. I was like, when the hell is Jimmy Stewart going to call it?
Yeah.
I need to see those films.
That's great.
Because that was pre-VHS, right?
So you would willfully wish the early death of your favorite celebrities to go,
favorite-
well, if they die, I'll get to see that movie everywhere.
Rock Hudson, Doris Day, kick it. I got work to do.
Now
over
we
here.
live in a day and age where you can watch your favorite celebrities without killing them.
Exactly. I don't
So
have to wish for their deaths.
I tell you, I love and the thing is, before he died, I used to go to these memorabilia shops were starting
Right.
to pop up. So I actually bought a bunch of like 1950 singles of Elvis before he died.
45s.
Yeah, so I've got
Okay.
I had a bunch of stuff that I bought because I wanted them.
Right.
Pay $1 for them, and then
Yep.
he died, and all of a sudden you're like, hey, I got an actual 45 of like Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel from 1956.
Wow.
So
And that's worth probably tens and tens of dollars.
it's in the vault.
Is it in the vault?
the vault.
Sweet.
It's in the Elvis vault.
Yeah, I owned all of them on VHS.
Yeah.
And of course, we have since I do not own a VHS player.
Yeah, it's good.
We have since switched over to the
Yep.
to the DVD player, and now we have the PS3 with the. For years, we've had the Blu-ray.
Wow.
So,
So this is a game that needs to be invented. Elvis and the PS3.
Elvis and the PS3.
Because he was a karate man, so it'd be Elvis.
That was one of the questions
yeah, so
too.
it would
He
be
was
a great
in karate?
video game. It'd be Elvis just going around kicking butt, going, ha-ha, whoosha. Come on now, do that, ha-ha.
Kenneth W. Reed
Yeah.
would like, please talk about karate in the film Change of Habit. Thank
Okay,
you.
Huge karate. Elvis was a big karate man. Matter of fact,
Karate. Okay.
Little known fact, Elvis first learned it in the Army, reacquainted with it with a karate instructor named Mike Stone when he was over. And little
That's
Mike
awesome
Stone
that you know Mike Stone's name.
ended up being the guy that Priscilla left Elvis for. So the karate took Elvis's love away and just left him with the karate. But Elvis would get all liquored up and be like, come on, Red, hold that board. I'm going to split it. And he'd punch his guys and they'd kick each other and they'd have these karate fights. But he was huge into karate.
Was he good at it?
I think he was Elvis good. So when you're surrounded by people,
Oh,
they're
right.
like, well done, Elvis, man. You're a badass, Elvis. Way to be, E. Then you're good. So I'm not saying he was bad, but what I heard was he was decent.
How could you ever know if you were any good at
You
anything?
can't. That's the key.
That's the
But
Petri dish part.
Here is the greatest Elvis karate story ever. And it's going to take place in a little town called Madison, Wisconsin. In the 1970s.
Varsity.
Elvis.
The 1970s.
Driving down in his limo, doing a concert in the area. Looks over.
Not on State Street. You can't drive on State
Not
Street.
State
That's
Street's
where I
got to
went
be
to
a small.
college.
Yeah,
I went to
it's
college
gotta
in
be
Madison.
so. John, what's his name? John, not John. Roy.
Cavalli?
John, no, the Avenue. John Randall. John Randall Avenue.
Oh, Randall Stadium.
Randall Stadium. So anyway, Elvis drives by a gas station and got to get some gas for the limo. Okay, sees at the gas station a couple people arguing and fisticuffs begin. Elvis jumps out of the limo and basically said, "If you guys want to have a fight, you're going to be dealing with me." Now, the sight of Elvis getting out of the limo, squaring off to kick their butts, everybody stopped and was like, "Oh my God, it's Elvis!"
Right.
And they all want to take pictures with him.
Right.
So-
they no longer wish to fight.
Exactly. So Elvis, with his karate move, stopped a fight outside, and it became like a legendary scene because Elvis stopped a crime in progress.
In Madison, Wisconsin.
Because the guy said to himself, "I would rather take a picture with my enemy and Elvis than hurt my enemy."
Right.
Yeah.
The enemy of your friend is your what? That actually
Is
doesn't
Elvis.
go.
Is
Elvis
Elvis.
is the friend of your enemy.
Yeah, and then he did all the karate moves on stage, which if you watch some of the videos in the 70s, when they get the instrumental versions, he's got the hands splaying out there and he's just chopping and punching the air.
Wow.
And imagine seeing that concert live. Like, who's he fighting?
Who is he? He is shadow boxing.
He does these songs, all of a sudden he stops, he goes, ha! And he's just kicking ass, so it's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That, first of all, I love that Elvis is in Wisconsin ever.
Yep.
Because, we just have Liberace. That's all we got.
Yep.
He is from Milwaukee. And,
Elvis goes by Wisconsin?
yeah, why wouldn't he?
Because
And-
there's got to be some theater there that seats thousands of people that would go see him.
Right. Well, that's it.
Exactly.
There's a gathering of like-minded individuals that he
Elvis is
could.
still big, yeah.
Yeah. And so that was, yeah, that, okay, I've lost my thread
It's
here.
okay, the
but-
karate. It's the karate.
And what about Change of Habit?
Change of Habit,
Kenneth would also
1969.
like-
It was his last movie in the contract,
Oh, really?
and it was non-musical. It was actually a real movie with Mary Tyler Moore.
Mary Tyler Moore is a nun,
played
correct?
A nun. And
She wasn't a fake nun like in the Clint Eastwood movie.
No,
was
no, no. She was
Okay.
a real nun.
Shirley
who,
MacLaine.
Yeah, no, Mary Tyler Moore, real nun who contemplated leaving the Lord to be with Elvis.
The Lord.
Who was Dr. John Carpenter, who moved into a heavily ethnic, predominantly Puerto Rican neighborhood to tend to the poor people.
I want to live in a
And Elvis had one song that came out of that. That was a big hit called Rubberneckin'.
Rubbernecking. How does that go?
Stop, look and listen, baby. That's my philosophy. Yes, it is now. It's called rubbernecking, baby, but that's all right with me. Come on now, Jackie.
I am so psyched that I don't have to ask twice.
You don't have to ask twice.
Finish the sentence. You're on board.
I'm in.
And you know them.
I know. And then it was re-released in a contemporary song.
Okay.
Like a little less conversation, a little more action. It was re-released with like a DJ mix. Same thing, rubbernecking.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So Change Your Habit. Yeah, I saw that one. That's Mary Tyler Moore.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't. She stays in the convent.
Yep.
And
in the end,
which I remember as a child being disappointed because I wanted them to kiss. I wanted to kiss.
Yeah. Elvis respects the Lord too much.
Right.
Little change of habit. Little trivia for you. I used to be a tour guide at Universal Studios.
Oh, yeah?
The only movie that Elvis shot on the lot at Universal Studios was Change of Habit.
Oh.
But they did not incorporate that into the official script of Universal Studios when you gave the tour.
Why not?
Well, obviously there was some sort of a conspiracy theory. So when I gave my tours, I always gave all the Elvis trivia on the tour, whether or not people cared or not.
Did you get busted?
I was asked to stay on script.
Oh, were you? Yeah. You're like, I don't think you understand.
You understand?
I'm a comedian.
When I go through here, I was asked several times to stay on script.
Wow. It's.
I was not promoting the official movies they wanted to. I was like, Change Your Habit right there.
That's where it happened, right over there. Yeah. Change Your Habit. It's so 1969. Was that the last movie he did?
No, he did like a Elvis on tour. This is Elvis. Elvis, that's the way it is. So they shot like documentary style concert footage of him, like 3 different ones afterwards.
But he didn't. He didn't.
He wasn't
say,
acting.
Oh.
No more scripts.
Did he? Are there any stories of him wanting to be an actor in the early 70s? Like The Godfather came out and he was like,
there was.
How could I get into
the greatest opportunity of Elvis's acting career was thwarted by the Colonel. The movie The Star Is Born with Barbra Streisand and Chris Christopherson.
Yeah.
Originally offered to Elvis Presley to play the Chris Christopherson role. And Barbra Streisand's people, they really wanted Elvis to play that role. I mean, Elvis hadn't been in a movie in a couple of years. This would have been like
It would have been huge.
And he would have been really acting. It would be like the equivalent of Jerry Lewis in The King of Comedy.
Yeah.
Because that's who Elvis was, playing the guy who he is.
Yep.
Just like Jerry Lewis played Jerry Lewis, basically.
Right.
And Colonel Tom Parker demanded too much money and wanted it to be an Elvis movie. And they're going, no, we just want Elvis. This movie's going to be huge. It's with Barbra Streisand.
Yeah.
But Colonel Tom Parker basically said, Elvis only does Elvis movies.
Oh, my God.
And so Elvis was furious that he lost out on this opportunity.
You know, that's where you look at your management and you go, you're actually not being part of the solution.
Elvis was so terrified of it all going away that when he started with the Colonel Tom Parker, he gave him 25%. 25% back in the 50s. Now, in the early 70s, they renegotiated the contract, and the Colonel got 50% of everything because the Colonel said Elvis was his only client.
Right.
So he needed a bigger percentage, and Elvis gave it to him.
Wow.
That's why people were like,
why was Elvis...
Colonel made as much money as Elvis off being Elvis.
Why was Elvis so dumb?
I think surrounded by yes people.
Okay.
And, you know...
And he wasn't really... What was his childhood? What was that like?
His father was kind of... They were, poor people, lived outside Mississippi. His father, tough time finding work.
Wait, I think didn't he grow up in New Albany?
He grew up in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Tupelo. And then there was a house in New Albany because all of my husband's, both of his parents grew up in New Albany and all of his family is from New Albany. And there's some
They moved around
there.
a lot. Here's a little Tupelo side story. I went to the Tupelo house, Elvis house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is it, the one-room shotgun house. So I walk in one door. And you walk in the door and you see the whole house with one door.
Right. It's a studio.
There's 2 rooms. In the other room was a docent from Mississippi giving a tour of like 4 people. And I walk in the back door and she goes, y'all can't be in here. You need to leave now. Because I didn't pay. I just burst in.
Oh, okay.
So I walked out and I looked at my friends and said, what happened? I go, I just got thrown out of Elvis's house. I'm like, this is like the greatest day of my life.
So you have to go get a ticket to get in?
For the tour. But the tour, the minute you walk in, that's the tour.
Right.
There's a woman talking to you about 2 rooms. And you can see both rooms from the whole house.
And then you're done.
You're done.
And how much is the tour?
I don't know. I didn't pay.
You didn't pay.
I went in the back door.
Fair enough.
Uninvited to the Elvis house.
That is classic stand-up comedy.
Was asked
moment.
to leave.
In New York, I took an elevator to the top of the Empire State Building, and I was wandering around, and some guy said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Looking for a window." And
he's very legitimate answer.
Yeah, and he
very
goes,
legitimate answer.
"That actually isn't done.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go back to it." And I said, "Fair enough. Okay."
So people pay to come into this house. I just can't walk in. I'm a
Right.
fan. I think Elvis would have wanted me.
Elvis
in
wouldn't have
his
wanted
room.
your $7.
Elvis would not want my money.
And it could have been 17.
Exactly.
Because they might have been gougy. Have you ever been to
3 times.
Graceland?
I knew you were going to say that.
Graceland.
Hell yeah.
Memphis,
I went
Tennessee.
to it's if you're an Elvis fan, you have to go. You have to it's not just the house.
I just went.
It's not just the house.
Okay.
You have to experience the other people that are there. It's part of the whole process. Like we went one time, a buddy and I went across to the Heartbreak Hotel,
Okay.
and they had the little Elvis singing booth.
Okay.
So we went and got some Elvis ice cream, and we rewrote the lyrics to Heartbreak Hotel.
What is Elvis ice cream?
I don't know what it was. Different
Okay.
flavors, probably tutti
But
frutti.
they called it Elvis
It's
ice
all the Elvis flavors are there.
Okay. All the
And
Elvis.
then,
Peanut butter, banana.
peanut butter, banana. All the Elvis flavors are there. And we rewrote a song in the back. We rewrote the words to Heartbreak Hotel, and then went and recorded our demo
Oh, that's
just to
awesome.
experience.
Right.
And then
Sure.
we went in the tour, and if you've ever been in, I get excited because every room I know probably the story ahead of the story that's being told.
Okay.
So I would come into the room with all the TVs, and I'd be like, "This is where Elvis shot at the TVs," and I would mumble it,
Right.
and then the tour guide's looking at me like, "That's my big line. Shut up, geek."
It's first of all, when we pulled up to when we went to the Elvis home, we lived. I lived through the 1990s when people started building McMansions.
Right.
And so when I pulled up to the Elvis mansion,
Yeah.
I was like, I think somebody owns a house bigger than this,
Oh yeah.
and it is a beautiful house. It is a gorgeous.
But it's
the
a
brick-
1950s. What would
Mansion.
be considered a mansion? The property's big.
The property's
but
big, but the columns are really nice, and it's a very
but
pretty.
it's not a gigantic house.
It is not a giant.
No.
I mean, it's probably 4,000 square feet.
Yeah.
This house that you are in at this time is also from the 50s, 1951.
Yeah.
It is 966 square feet.
So roughly a fourth of the Elvis. When I got here, I said, this is like a quarter Graceland. That's what I'm looking at right here.
Right. It's a lot like
go to
it. We have,
Graceland, yeah.
we have animals. When you go through, when we
Yeah.
went into the lion pattern
Yeah.
or the
Jungle
tiger-
Room.
Jungle room. That's what.
The
That was
Jungle Room.
crazy. I was like,
this is my favorite thing. You walk in, they go, this is a jungle room. Elvis designed this room himself. I thought to myself, A, I wouldn't be promoting that. B, Elvis had enough money to hire a better interior decorator.
This is
Because
not
the jungle
his
is
best
like,
work.
wow. So, over there, I want jungle stuff, and then I want a chair of wood.
Was there any what was it? What were his hobbies? I mean, did he
Being Elvis, probably the number one.
right?
Touch football.
He liked to kind
Play
of
touch football. He liked to rent out places for the night, like arcades and amusement parks and movie theaters, and
just kinda wander
and
in
just
them?
cavort all night and have a good time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because he was junked up a lot, right? He was kind of drunk and
In the later
partying.
years, he had the doctor that got in trouble. Dr. Nicopolis apparently was just like, it was kind of like what Michael Jackson had.
Yeah.
He had a doctor who was on the paycheck who
Right.
just basically wrote to the client's demands.
Yes.
And crossed his fingers he wouldn't die.
Right, and then he did.
And he did. And Conrad Murray did the exact same things as Michael Jackson.
And
a
did he
doctor
go to
on the
jail?
take. Dr. Nick?
Yeah. The doctor who
I
was
think eventually,
Elvis's
yeah.
doctor
Yeah.
went to
Well, he
jail.
prescribed him one time hundreds of they would just, you can't do that to a man. You can't legally prescribe that much medication to a man in a short period of time. If he takes them, he'll die.
Right.
So,
Right. What's the medical reasoning to providing all of the Vicodin he's ever wanted?
the answer to that question is Elvis asked me to.
Right.
And, it's Elvis. So what am I going to say? No, Elvis.
What's the doctor's name?
Dr. Nicopolis.
Nicopolis was Elvis's doctor.
He was he was the doctor that he went to, and he took the drugs to help him wake up, took the drugs to help him sleep. When
Right.
he wasn't feeling good, took the drugs. When he would cancel shows, he'd go see the doctor. He'd check into the hospital for exhaustion, but it was actually detox. And of course, the first person they would go visit would be Dr. Nicopolis. So you read all this stuff, you're like, now you read about it, you go, oh, we've heard this story. It's a common story, but Elvis was the blueprint for celebrity narcotic abuse.
Wow.
In the sociopathic, psychotic world of a superstar like that.
Right, but everybody died before him, though, right? Because he didn't die till 77. When did he die?
He died August 16th, 1977.
It was
Or
77.
theoretically died.
Oh, hello.
When Elvis died, I had a teacher who knew
Yep.
I was a big fan drive to my house to break me the news because he thought I might take it hard.
I was in a car with a crazy woman when Michael Jackson died, and she burst into tears.
Oh my gosh.
I was in Las Vegas, and she started having the biggest panic attack and crying, Jag. I literally got out of the car. I said, I will jump out of this car if you do not let me out. And I had to call Kevin Kearney. Remember him? Catch a Rising Star?
I know Kevin Kearney, yeah. Kevin Kearney, Catch a Rising Star.
Yeah. I had to call him up and go, hey, do you know where this is in Las Vegas? And he goes, yeah. And I said, I just jumped out of a lady's car because she was just a woman who wanted, I'm sure she's very nice, but her love of Michael Jackson scared the shit out of me. And the fact that she was like, Michael Jackson, she started hyperventilating. She started swerving. I was like, what the hell's going on? And she's like, they say Michael Jackson's dead. And I was like, yeah. Are you a close friend of his? And she said, I have met him. And I was like, and we're done.
Yeah, and this is not good.
This is
Yeah, I don't understand that. I was a fan, but I never thought that I knew him. I never thought I understood him.
Okay.
I never thought I was just like, I didn't feel like there was part of me died when Elvis died. It's more like, no, I enjoyed the concept of Elvis.
Right.
I mean, as a kid,
you love all the works.
I love the fact that he was the king of a world he created. Every movie, everything was like no one else lived in this world. No one said no to him. He built his own world.
Yeah.
And his world was amusing because it was filled with guys named Sonny and Red and West, and there was Cadillacs and guns and booze and Anne Margaret, and there was
ladies.
Who wouldn't want that world? I mean, every movie was like, Elvis had a guitar, he was a singer, he had to get a job, there were race cars or Hawaiian themes or boats.
Motorcycles or
and he was a guy that won a singing contest. I mean, he was like, who lived in that world?
Right. Elvis did.
By the way, and I was one of the first jobs I had in L.A., I was a production assistant on a Elvis impersonator documentary.
Oh.
One of the greatest jobs of my life. Drove to the Palm Springs mansion where Elvis rented a home when he was taping Viva Las Vegas with Anne Margaret.
Okay.
And they theoretically hooked up in these little getaways. So when we get to this home and everybody's running around checking out the house for sound and blah, 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 I went straight to the bedroom, kicked open the door, and I was like, do you understand what took place in this room? Two of the sexiest people of the 1960s did it right here.
Right.
I mean, Anne Margaret, this room, this is it, people.
This is it.
They probably,
Their DNA.
If we did the light on the wall, it'd be horrific.
Right. There would be, you'd take that red light.
Yeah.
Monk would not be set.
Not at all.
It's a Monk reference.
That's
but I heard that they hooked up, that they were lovers, but that they were also just friends too.
I think both. I think how do you not shack up? It's like, you're hot, I'm hot, let's do this.
Right, we've slept with everyone
exactly. And they were like lifetime. She was one of the few celebrities that came to his funeral.
Okay.
And every time she opened a show in Vegas for the rest of her life, he would send the whole room full of flowers. Like, I think it was one of those, once Elvis loves you, Elvis loves you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He's
forever.
He's on your
I'll find you.
side. I'll find you.
Wherever you go in, I got you. I got
somebody tracking you at all times.
Now, I met Priscilla Presley when I first got to L.A., because I was, I don't want to brag, but I was an extra in Naked Gun 33 1/3.
Your career is just amazing.
I had a tuxedo.
Goonies. Yep.
And when I got on set, you're on there. It was a big final scene at the Shrine Auditorium with the Oscar scene.
Okay.
So,
so you could be a guy.
I could be a guy, and because I had a tux, they're like, well, then you can come back, because that way, I was there for 3 weeks, and they didn't have to pay. They didn't have to rent a tux, but they gave me the tux bump. So I was hanging with everybody. And, Raquel Welch is on this movie.
Holy crap.
But so is Priscilla Presley.
Yeah.
And to me, Raquel was she was kind of a diva and aloof.
Right.
But Priscilla was like friendly and gorgeous. Oh, really? And I was just like, this is Elvis's wife. And Anna Nicole Smith was on the set.
Right.
And O.J. Simpson. We had quite a cast of people. But it was like.
And, you're right.
But Priscilla. And I was just like, I don't care. I was like, that's Scylla. That is Scylla.
Scylla. Yeah, she was like 14 or something when they met, right?
Yeah,
14 or 15?
Yeah, she was like 14 or 15 when they met in Germany, and Elvis was like...
And he was like 22 or 23?
Yep, yeah.
So, awkward.
Yeah, but he brought her back. Yeah.
He courted her through her dad, is that correct?
Courted her through her dad, asked permission to bring her back to the States, to educate her, how to live in the home. Basically, groomed her until it was time. Right. But yeah, apparently it was very...
I saw Gigi. Yeah. I know what's happening.
But apparently it was all
And then he married her.
Yeah, apparently it was all like, no, he was a gentleman, and they married her, and then they...
they did it.
And then they did it, and they had a kid.
And then they had a kid.
And then Mike Stone, and then the rest is history.
Right.
The karate.
karate.
Karate,
And then that was all he had.
yeah.
That was all he had left. So did he cheat on Priscilla to your knowledge?
I think the common accepted theory is yes.
Yes.
But in the
That
same
women
way that
threw themselves at him
but that he
and-
was devoted to her, that she's the only one he loved.
Right.
But that doesn't change.
The fact that there was free sex.
Then I was like,
all
okay,
around.
go get me the pink one, the one in the red dress, the one over there, the one that fell down, have them meet me. Clean them up, and I'll meet them later. Yeah.
Hose them off.
Hose 'em off.
Stick them in that thing
Elvis
with
likes a
the
woman that
bright
can
eyes.
stand
And so,
Planet of the Apes reference.
yes.
Thank you.
Yes. I have a...
I'm hip to that, too.
Sure, you know things.
Soylent Green is people. Charlton Heston.
Sure, Charlton Heston. So, Carla Estes, and allow me to mispronounce her name, and she's good with that because she said, don't ask him, he'll think I'm a freak. But
Ask me.
Ask him, and I said, no, it'll bring you all closer.
Just so
and me too. Has he read the chapter on Elvis's alleged megacolon in Mary Roach's book Gulp?
Wow. I wish we had a visual on the podcast. Because
I'm glad we do not.
As you please reread the sentence to me one more time so I can take in every word.
Has he read the chapter on Elvis's alleged megacolon? Megacolon, which I don't know what that is.
I don't know, is that a euphemism for well-endowed man?
Possibly,
or are we
possibly.
talking about his actual colon?
In Mary Roach's book Gulp. I don't know who Mary Roach is.
I don't either.
Someone who's written a book called Gulp makes me never want to read it.
But there's a chapter on the megacolon. We're not going to go back and look this up because if this was a game show, a part of me wants to go with euphemism for hung like a bull moose,
Right.
or are we actually dedicating a chapter of a book to the colon of Elvis Presley?
Right. I have no idea. At least he didn't suffer, right?
No, Elvis.
When he died?
He went
Went
to the bathroom, sat on the toilet, took a book with him,
And
keeled
died.
over, and died.
That's it.
As a matter of fact, the first jokes I ever wrote. I'm not proud of this joke, but I did this. I actually did this. I did this on television. I used to host a show on VH1.
Are we playing that one? What show did you
called
host?
Movie Obsessions.
There we
so
go.
it was like dinner and a movie. And so one time it was music related movies, but one time the movie was Viva Las Vegas. So I'm just beside myself with joy because this is an Elvis movie. I'm going to get away with Elvis references.
Yep.
And so, can't believe I said this on TV. I said, Elvis died on the toilet. Basically, the king got up one night, sat on the toilet, let one rock, and then he rolled.
Oh, there you go.
Horrible joke.
You were vaguely
But it was
embarrassed.
mine.
Oh, I did a joke when I first started about Batman and Robin, how they might be gay. I don't mean to brag, but I don't think I was the first one to possibly mention that pole and the tights.
No, yeah.
It's exhausting when you think
good
about your
stuff.
early comedy. Okay, so David Romerstein would like to know, is the Hamburger James story true? I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
The Hamburger James story. The Hamburger Story James, or a story named Hamburger James?
Hamburger James in quotes. Is the Hamburger James story true?
Wow, that I don't know about the Hamburger James. That
And
one
then the last one I got.
never heard of.
I didn't give people a lot of time, so I only have.
I know
10
Elvis would
questions.
fly to places specifically just to get a hamburger. Like he had
his
favorite
food
place.
thing.
He'd let's go get a hamburger in Texas, and they'd get up, fly the plane, land, eat the burgers, and come home.
Did he ever go anywhere foreign besides Germany?
No, I don't think so.
That actually makes me sad.
He went there because he was ordered to.
Right.
And then he never traveled worldwide because the Colonel wouldn't let him go.
Right, but just think about
He did
like
Hawaii. He did the biggest concert ever at the time. More people saw Elvis than any other human alive in 1973 Aloha Special.
Oh, really?
In Hawaii. It was via satellite. It was the first concert satellite shuttle around the world. So instead of traveling to the world, Elvis was the first person to do a worldwide satellite conference that every country could get
then
via satellite. So that was Elvis's way of touring.
Have you ever read any books about the Colonel?
I mean, there's two. I can't remember the authors. There are two
Offhand,
phenomenal
yeah.
books about. One's called Last Train to Memphis, and then there's another one. They're the first half and second half. That's Elvis's career from 0 to 21 when he became mega Elvis.
Right.
And then the next one is about basically from fame till death.
Okay.
They're phenomenal books. It's a guy that's written a lot of other really, really good books about really interesting people. So this is the one. If you're going to read an Elvis book,
That's the one
read
that-
these two because this is an actual writer going after the topic from a cultural
scholar.
standpoint. Yeah, not a
yeah.
I was part of Elvis's and Inder Mafia and
Right.
and
It's,
so
I did blow with him once in
and there's a
1974.
lot of stuff in there on the Colonel, but it's all he kept it very. He was an old carny from the circus days and stuff, so he kept everything. You never knew what was real and what wasn't real with this guy,
Okay.
and I think he kept everything that way. So that
Did he? I mean, here's my question about the Colonel. Like, when did the Colonel die? Do you have any idea? Is the Colonel still alive?
No, he
somewhere?
did die. He died. He was the last one to go. He lived quite a long life. I mean, I forget when he died.
I'm
but.
sure he. Yeah, and then did he have kids? I mean, my curiosity with the Colonel is like, did he have kids?
No, I think he was just a
loner,
hustler.
carny
He was a
loner.
hustler. He was a carny loner who was representing Hank Snow, was a huge country act in like the 40s and 50s.
So where did all that money go? Is I guess what? Because my whole thing is
he had a
like,
gambling problem, understandably, and
Sure.
I think he pissed away the money. And that's why he
That's
wanted to make sure that.
interesting.
And then he knew that when Elvis died, if he's entitled to 50% of all the money that's still coming in, he knew
Yeah.
Elvis is not going to live, but I'm going to get my money.
yeah, wow,
Yeah.
that is crazy talk. It's so interesting to me about like the people that take advantage of the people.
Yep.
You're like, okay, so what's your story? And because those people oftentimes think that they're going to take it with them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're like, no, I need all this money. I
Yeah.
need this money, and I'm
Yeah, I don't know. He was probably one of the most. He's like the blueprint for the guy you don't want representing you because he will never be honest with you.
Right,
You'll never know what the hell's exactly going on.
right.
Anyone, first this way, if you're a comedian, let's say, and some manager approaches you, and his name is the Colonel, I think off the top right there, anyone with a faux military, opening name, like,
right.
the Rear Admiral, anything, walk away.
Yeah.
There's very few, there's no other major artistic management who have military This is not going to,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah, whenever you know what, it's so interesting to me whenever somebody has a career like that, where it blows that, like Mitch Hedberg,
Yep.
like his manager kept sending him out, and everyone around him was like, he's a mess.
Yeah.
He's got to figure out his life, and they're like, yeah, but if he slows down, he's not going to get the next big development deal.
Yeah, and it's always a bizarre. It's at that place where, but wouldn't it be nice for him not to die?
Right.
And then wouldn't it be nice for someone to go, maybe what you need to do is stop and then try to come back. Maybe have faith that even if he came back half as famous because a cleaned up Mitch Hedberg wasn't as funny, he'd still he'd live,
He'd still be
and be
amazing.
funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it'd be like, and so I agree with you.
And yeah, it would be
Who? I mean, you look at Elvis. It was just like if people that stood up to him left, and then people started leaving him saying, "I can't watch you kill yourself anymore."
Right.
And then right before he died, Sonny and Red West, the brothers who were with him all the time,
Okay.
basically released a book called Elvis: What Happened, and it was the first big insider tell-all, letting everybody know what the inside world of Elvis Presley, why he was seeming bloated and drugged out on stage.
Right.
And he was dreading the release of the book.
Yeah.
And in the last couple months of his life, everything was like, that book was coming out, and then Elvis' health was declining. He was.
Did Priscilla had left him?
They
this point?
divorced in '74. In,
Okay,
in
so a couple
Santa
years
Monica,
earlier.
and same place for O.J. civil trial, same room. So it was all declining, and the book was coming out, and his world was kind of like imploding.
Yeah.
And he was just, heavily into drug use, missing concerts, and then ironically, the last concert Elvis did was he did something that he never usually did. Was he brought his father on stage and introduced him to the crowd.
Oh wow.
So it was like almost. I think he kind of figured that I'm running this train into the ground,
Right.
And no one can stop me, and so it's like
Might as well give this guy his
Here's my dad.
moment in the sun.
Yeah, so.
Here's that'll be nice. Yeah, it's always so. And then people always say, geniuses, man, they always burn out early, and you're like, really? George Carlin died of old age.
Yeah.
People think he's a genius.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to be the biggest mess in the world to be a genius. You can be a genius, and then, Bill Cosby. People say he's a genius, and that guy is 77 years old.
Yeah.
He gets to. And
Ironically, Bill Cosby just brought his father on stage for the last show. So
he did not. It's like,
boy, that man will be dead soon. No.
He's 102.
He's
102.
the guy's a great guy. So
Yeah. So, but I love the idea of it. And now let's talk briefly about Memphis.
we love Memphis.
Right. So do you go pretty regular? Do you still do stuff? What do you
have been there regularly enough now that I think I've been there like 4 times.
Okay.
One time we did the Graceland thing a couple of times, different people. Last time was some military tour with some guys, so we went to Tupelo and we went to Sun Recording Studio. We went to Graceland. We had the time, so it was it's very, very. I mean, I love going.
Yeah.
But every time you go, it's fun to go with someone who's never been, because then it's like reliving it through a child's eyes.
Right.
They have no idea what's about to happen.
Right.
And you see like
the all the different rooms in the stables, and they're asking these what I consider to be simple questions. And I go, no, that's not at all true. You see what Elvis did when he had the Cadillacs lined up here. So I almost feel like a docent.
Right, you are the docent.
It is fun.
We went the first time we went to Memphis. We went to the Civil Rights Museum. And then the next, which is...
they have that there too.
Right. It's,
Jackie's like, they have a civil rights there. Right. And Graceland is right there
just
too.
Over
it's
there
just down the street.
It's just down the street.
Second most visited house in America up by the White House.
Oh, really?
Graceland's number 2.
Oh, that's interesting. The Civil Rights Museum is, weirdly enough, it's made into, it's the motel where Martin Luther King was shot. They turned it into the museum. Right. And I thought, well, that's poor taste. And then I went, and it could not have been more powerful.
Yeah.
It was so powerful. And then they bought a building across the street, which is...
The Vantage Point?
The Vantage Point. And then they did this whole thing. And
I would think that would be powerful to walk like it happened here. It went there. The guy probably shot him from there.
They shot him. They have the exact spot where he shot him from. And it's like you can sit there and they have a gun just set up that you can look through the rifle.
and you can shoot people. It's still the South.
And weirdly enough, it is still available.
It's still available.
You got to bring your own bullet.
Yeah.
And so I really like Memphis, quite honestly. I mean,
food's great. Beale Street is phenomenal. That's where supposedly Elvis went in the 50s and got all his exposure to like gospel music and black entertainers and blues and all that stuff. It's still, the food and the music, it's people. It's like mini New Orleans without people pulling their shirts off and showing their tits. In New Orleans, there's a sense of at any moment something could happen where if you get sucked up in the humanity, you'll never be seen again. Not Beale Street.
I've never been to New Orleans. I really want to go, but it feels like sort of a Disneyland kind of thing since Katrina, where they're trying to sort of recreate
I think the new Orleans is more like, we're not as crazy as you think, and yes, they are.
And Memphis feels like a place where like you could get punched in the throat if things go wrong.
It's good for a city.
I like that. Yeah. I enjoy that in a city.
I like my cities.
Slightly dangerous. It's like you want to go to Times Square in 1987? Yeah. Yes, you do.
Exactly.
You do. You want to see, you're looking for a Tetris game, but what you find is a peep show. Because it says arcade.
When you go, every time I go to Graceland, we always picked up like souvenirs. So over the years, and I stopped buying Elvis stuff years ago because I have my own life.
Right.
But people knew I liked it, kept sending me things. Like I have... I have the Elvis encyclopedia I brought with me in case we had a little dispute over something. I could go to the book.
Okay.
I have an Elvis buck knife. I have people send me these things. So I had this incredible collection one time. So I had an Elvis party in which I displayed all my wares.
Yes.
Because I thought, I got to do something with this stuff. So we had played Elvis movies on the different TVs. We had all the Elvis stuff. For a period, I did own a jumpsuit, glasses, wig.
Oh, you
scarf.
had that?
Oh, I had that because I've in my early day, I was hired. I've been hired several times. I was in an independent movie called 9 Minutes.
Okay.
In which everybody had to take their 15 minutes of fame, but with commercials, it was cut down to 9 minutes.
Awesome.
And most people just, when they would come, it's your time. Most people by default just did Elvis. Mm-hmm. So the opening of the movie is me doing Elvis for people that are about to judge me. And I give it everything I got. And I'm doing the karate moves and all that. And the guy gives me the thumbs down, and then they throw me into the river.
Okay.
But because I was an Elvis fan, they hired me. I pitched myself as an Elvis wrangler.
Okay.
Because I then taught the other actors how to be Elvis when their time came.
Elvises.
Yeah. So yeah, I did an interactive Elvis on a kiosk for this company. Someone hired me and wants to do it live. I'm like, in a bar. I'm going to go in, sing Burnin' Love. I'm in.
Oh, that's so... your life is just... Elvis follows you because you followed Elvis.
It is funny. Extent. People will hear me on stage, and somebody came up to me like a couple weeks ago and said, where are you from? Because I hear like a slight southern drawl.
That's why I asked.
And I said, the only explanation I can give you is that I'm such a big Elvis fan that when I hit the stage, I'm a little larger than life, a little over the top, and there's just a little bit of that in my head that I cannot shake. It's subconscious. It's not like I'm up there going, "How y'all doing?" I don't do that. But
it isn't that bad. But there's a twang to it where you're just like, I am performing. Yeah. Hence, my inner Elvis is taking over.
Thank you. Write this down, people. The inner Elvis.
Your inner Elvis.
My inner Elvis comes out, baby.
That is awesome.
I like it. And you know what? That is probably, and I'm not, when I tell people that, I'm being very serious. I have an ear for dialect, so if I go places, my first time I met my brother-in-law in Wisconsin, and I heard him talk, I was like, talk to me. This is the greatest accent I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
And 2 weeks later, I had an audition. They wanted me to be from the Midwest. I go, I can do this. Have Mike Worth in my ear. So, but yeah, that's the, and people, I go, no, I'm deadly serious. I am very much sure that that's what it is.
Excellent. So do you recommend this Elvis Encyclopedia if people like it?
You know what? I just thumb through it again. People give me these things.
So it's pretty good?
Well, you know what it's got? It's basically a chronology. You can go anywhere in his life, any year. There's Elvis making out with Aunt Margaret. That's always a big one. It's got the movies. They list them by synopsis. There's your King Creole right there, 1958. It's got some of the
Do you have a favorite Elvis movie?
You know what? For pure entertainment value, front to back of the pinnacle of what I consider to be the groovy movie 60s Elvis, I think Viva Las Vegas is the balance of Elvis cheese with an actual movie that kind of works, and then there's Aunt Margaret.
Which one is that one? What's the conceit? What is the
when we jump the shark? When do we tip over?
Well, because there's the one where he's a rich oil guy who trades identities with the other guy.
Yeah, I think he trades with Bill Bixby, as a matter of fact. Who appeared
in several films. No, it's Bill Bixby's friend, isn't it? Bill Bixby plays
it is
the
Bill
friend.
Bixby's friend. That's right. Bill Bixby was in like Speedway, and Nancy Sinatra, I think Nancy Sinatra was in Speedway. Bixby could have been in Spin Out. Could have been Roustabout. I don't know.
Right. Spin Out, yeah, those three were the ones that were all the car
Yeah, they were all the car ones,
right?
yeah. Roustabout, he's on the motorcycle.
What's the one with the boat?
Oh, the boat was Girls, Girls, Girls.
Okay. I always enjoyed Girls, Girls, Girls.
Did too. It's got a lot of play in the 330 movie.
Yep.
Blue Hawaii, he plays, he's the son of a pineapple heiress, the pineapple people. Matter of fact, Angela Lansbury plays his mother.
Oh, right.
Big song in that one's Rock-a-Hula Baby. And he becomes a local tour guide for the girls and, of course, falls in love. And,
sure.
Yeah, and then, of course, Paradise Hawaiian Style, the big wedding scene floating down the...
Oh, right.
Where you can still get married as Elvis to this day. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just so much. And
have you been to the Elvis chapels in Vegas? Have you seen some of that?
I've seen Elvis chapels in Vegas. If you go to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and you drive through the areas, there's like little Elvis museums and places where they have you can look at the X-ray where Elvis broke his hand. I love stuff like that. Yeah.
That is weird.
Yeah.
That feels
How's like your X-rays, like when you die, you can put where's Jackie's foot? And here she broke it. And you're like, well, look at that. That is Jackie's foot. How do you know? How do we know?
It's like a saint.
It's
like it's one of those pilgrimagey things where you're just like, I'm hoping to see like a lock of his hair.
Well, when you go to Graceland,
maybe it'll heal me.
The pilgrimagey thing is there was a woman weeping, just uncontrollably weeping at the side of Elvis's grave. Now I'm a fan, but his grave is not
like the last time you were there.
Like the first time I went.
Oh, Jesus.
And still weeping, and, this is in the 80s, I think, sometime, and maybe early 90s, and I was just like, she was just weeping, and I looked at my buddy, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go over and console her, and then I want a shot. She was like, the comedian is like, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to gain her confidence, and then I'm going to turn to the camera and click that shot.
Instagram. Except for it's 1996.
Yeah, except, yeah. So
did that happen? Mm-hmm. What did she say? Why was she? She was just sad.
She was just weeping. It was Elvis,
and she felt
it uncontrollably.
An American. An American grown-up lady.
The equivalent of the woman that you were in the car with Michael Jackson. This would be someone like that.
Right. Yeah. Right. I don't want to get in a car with that woman either.
Yeah.
I don't know who could die. That I would. I mean, besides a close personal.
Yeah. I don't know who could die that I don't know. That would make me
that upset.
Make me make someone get out of the car I'm driving.
Sure.
I don't know anybody.
Yeah. Who's I've forgotten his name, the rich man Dabney Coleman. Gene Hackman.
I like that.
That's a fun game I like to play. It's played on a regular basis here because it's the best example because rich man, poor man, right?
Yeah.
Because you get the poor man's Michael Keaton.
Yep.
Would be Judge Reinhold.
Okay.
Or
good. I like.
Steve Guttenberg. Steve Guttenberg could be the poor man's Judge Reinhold, or those two guys can switch a little bit. And then
I like
this. It's just Laura Linney, poor man's Meryl Streep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I like this.
And both excellent. But everyone's good at what they do. Now, I'm not saying anyone's better or worse. Or
I just haven't had the conversation which Dabney Coleman came up in a long time.
Right,
I was like,
right. So
I was watching 9 to 5 the other day.
somebody does a joke. Is it Brandon? Really? It's a fun game I also like to play, just in life where, he's an Austin comic. He's relatively well known. He is, his name is, Brandon
Jackson.
And it is not Jackson. And, but he likes to open his set with Gene Hackman has passed away. and the audience reacts, and he always talks about the visceral reaction that people have. Sometimes he does it in a bar where he's like, did you hear that Gene Hackman died? And people, every single time he says, somebody comes up to him and says, did you say Gene Hackman died? And Gene Hackman has not died.
No, Gene Hackman
still alive.
Will not die.
Right, he won't die. He is essentially the poor man's Rip Torn. Anyway,
Gene Hackman, U.S. Marine. That's why he's not going to die.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Is he U.S. My father. Let's talk. It's been an hour, but my father likes to refer to himself as the world's worst Marine because he was in the Marines, but not. He was a medic. So
right.
He was in the Navy.
Right. But those guys, that's tough duty. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are the medics who are assigned to the Marines. That, to me, I feel most sorry for them because they joined the Navy, became a medic, and then were handed to the Marines. And now you're running around on the ground, and all the demands of the Marines are placed on you.
Right.
And then when we get hurt, you got to come help us.
Right. Well, and what my father likes to say is he says, did you know that the Marines get their medics from the Navy? I didn't.
What a surprise. I thought they had their own. What do you mean I'm going there?
Oh, is that what's happening? And my father, as my father also likes to say, he says, I'd rather you thought I was a coward than an idiot. And so he did not reenlist.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I was not cut out to be a Marine.
Yeah.
And he said, I love those guys. Those guys were the coolest guys in the world. And I would sit and I would talk to them forever. But I can't go to Vietnam. That's not happening.
Yeah,
he's like,
for a medic, that's been horrible.
Right. He said, I'm going to go to Vietnam with a giant cross on my forehead that says, shoot here, please. And he's like, I can't. And so he is not, my favorite thing about my dad is that his self-absorption is so complete that it feels like from a distance that he is the sanest man in the room. Right? So, like,
I like him already.
He bought one gun when I was a child because he was a gambler. Not good at it because no one is, it turns out, when you have 6 children. And, but he was in a game when I was 11 years old. And I've been telling this story on stage, which I rarely do on the podcast, but I'll just tell it just because you were a Marine.
Tell me.
And, it is, and I haven't been able to make it funny because it's hilarious to me, but it's more just a story. And it is, he bought this gun because he was in a poker game that you had to have a gun to be in the game because there was so much money on the table. They were afraid that it would be robbed.
Was this like the OK Corral?
It was essentially Idiot Mafia. It was like the Milwaukee Mafia, which is not even the Chicago Mafia. So it's guys named Pulaski and DeSalvo. Anyway, but they're all sitting around, and he says, so I got to have a pistol to be in this game. So I bought a gun. You want to see it? And I'm 11, and children love guns. I think that's been established. They shoot each other and themselves all the time.
I go with this discussion. I have a 2.5-year-old son. I'm like, it's not okay to just go around shooting your other toys. We have to stop this.
We have to. And so I was like, of course. And my stepmom wouldn't let him have it in the house, so it was in the car. So it's in the trunk. So he opens the trunk. He opens a jewelry box, and there are matching dueling Derringers. Just 2 pearl-handed .22 Derringers. And I was like, what are those? Do they work? And he goes, you can't shoot them. They lose half their value if you shoot them. They look like keychains. And I was like, well, do they count in the game? And he said, oh, yeah. They made fun of me, but they count. And, my favorite line is what he says when I ask the obvious question, which is, what if somebody robs the game? And without missing a beat, he's like, well, everybody else has a gun. I don't need a gun. They can shoot them. I don't need to shoot anybody, do I? And you're like, that is so sane and so not how the game...
That's brilliant. Like, what do you... Shoot the guy. Shoot the guy. I'm not going to shoot him with these guns.
Right. It's like, that's not how the game is played. He's like, well, I don't have to play the game. Like, they're all playing the game. What do I have to play it for?
That's a great... Genius. It works.
It seems sane and so self-absorbed that you're like, why wouldn't you get punched in the face regularly, Dad? And he's like, oh yeah, sometimes. Anyway,
oh, that's been known to happen, yeah.
It's
all part of the game.
Okay, so I of course thank you for your willingness to serve.
Willingness? Oh, I thought we were talking about talking Elvis. Your willingness to serve here as our Elvis expert.
On the Dork Forest.
Well, yeah, it was. I signed up for the Dork Forest. I knew what I was getting into.
You knew what you were getting in. It's a volunteer. It's still not a. a draft situation.
It's a brilliant idea. How nice to come and sit here and actually be sitting here like I'm some kind of a panel expert on all things Elvis.
It's all we're looking for is enthusiasm, and in your case, you had actual info, which is awesome.
I got info. I got experience. I had a jumpsuit. I felt the Elvis, and I love that the inner Elvis. I'm leaving here with my inner Elvis intact, knowing that. So if you're out there and you got it in you, it's what's happening is your inner Elvis. It bubbles out every now and then. I need a cape.
It's a safe space. James P. Connolly with an O. That Connolly, 2 O's.
Yep.
.tv, James P. Connolly. It'll be linked in the notes at James P. Connolly on Twitter. And July 29th, the Irvine Improv, August 2nd and 3rd, Goonies in Rochester. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Pleasure. Thank you for the Elvis pint glass. See you later, brother. It's been nice talking to you.
And thanks for listening, Rangers. Take care of each other out there. Bye.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?